Welcome to Dead Air. I'm Danny.
I'm Siren.
This is where the signal fades and the stories get darker. From the paranormal to true crime, from the depths of Reddit to the corners of the dark web, we explore the things that linger just out of sight and sometimes a little too close. Welcome to Dead Air. I'm Danny.
I'm Siren.
So today we're going to be talking about dark Reddit stories. I was scrolling through r slash no sleep. And this story, the first story that I'm going to be reading is, well, it doesn't have a title for one. So that's a little eerie. Story number one. Me and my friends went to Disneyland last month. Now, my boyfriend isn't acting like himself. So we went to Disneyland Paris last month. Just me and my boyfriend Leo and our friends Mark and Chloe. It was the trip of a lifetime. For a few days, it felt surreal in the best possible way. Endless giggling, ridiculous photos, way too much sugar, and that strange sensation that real life had just been temporarily switched off. It all started at Phantom Manor. We queued for nearly 40 minutes. Inside, it felt both cold and stuffy at the same time, smelling vaguely of dust, air conditioning, and something sweet that I couldn't quite place. We were about to be directed into our doom buggy when Leo suddenly stopped dead, completely dead. He grabbed me tightly with both hands, his knuckles turning white. "I can't do this," he whispered. I laughed, thinking he was joking. "You're kidding. Phantom Manor scares you?" But he didn't laugh. He just kept his gaze fixed above us, as if he were trying to hear or perhaps recall something. "I have a really bad feeling," he murmured. "Really bad one." Mark chuckled. "Mate, it's practically a kiddie's ride." Leo shook his head. "I'll wait outside." I tried to talk him around, but it was no use. Eventually, he just nodded and said, "I'll be just outside. Promise." I watched him go, black hoodie on, hands jammed into his pockets. Without looking back, we went on without him. The ride was just a few minutes long, but from the beginning it felt wrong. I knew Phantom Manor. It was always supposed to be theatrical, not scary. This was somehow different. The sounds were muffled and slow. The animatronics seemed to twitch rather than glide. And when I looked in one of the mirrors, seeing the doom buggy behind ours appear in the reflection, I could have sworn that, for a split second, Leo was sitting in it, empty. I blinked, and then he was gone, just shadows and glass. I told myself it was the mirrors and the lighting. When we got out, Leo wasn't waiting outside. Nobody worried, not at first. Disneyland is enormous, and you can easily lose people. Maybe he'd gone for a drink or a wee. But 15 minutes later, I had this horrible heaviness in my stomach, and I asked Mark and Chloe to check Frontierland while I went back towards the ride exit one last time. And then I found him, standing outside the exit by a popcorn cart, staring straight at the castle, not moving, not on his phone, not even looking like he was waiting for anybody. "Leo!" I nearly shouted. "What are you doing?" I touched his shoulder and he jumped as if I'd pulled him out of a deep sleep. Then he turned and he looked calm. He smiled that normal smile again, almost too normal, and said, "Hey, where were you guys?" "Where were we? We've been looking all over for you." He frowned a little. "I've been right here, by the exit." He sounded so natural that for a moment I almost felt silly. When Mark and Chloe rejoined me, he said the exact same thing to them. "I've been right here." But that's not what frightened me. It was the fact that he sounded so perfectly rehearsed, as if he were repeating lines from a play he learned an hour ago. Still, the rest of the trip was fairly normal, or so I thought at that time. The strangeness really only started when we got home. First, it was small things. Leo had been drinking black coffee since he was 19. The other morning, I saw him spoon 3 teaspoons of sugar into his cup, and when he noticed me staring, he shrugged. Guess I've developed a sweet tooth. Then he started forgetting things, our things. On our first date, a pigeon had swooped down and snatched a whole hot dog out of his hand, and we laughed so hard we both cried, and passers-by stared at us as if we were clinically insane. The last time I brought it up, he just stared at me with a blank expression. Oh, right. He didn't recall anything. Not the ketchup stain on his shirt, not that I'd called Pigeon the bandit. Nothing. Then it got worse. He started humming melodies I'd never heard. I'd find him staring at himself in mirrors for prolonged periods, as if checking that all his features were still in place. And his laugh? God, it still sounded like Leo, but it was delayed, like an echo. It was like he memorized how to laugh, but not the timing. I tried convincing myself I was overreacting until last night. We were on the sofa watching a movie when I made a joke about the cheese drawer. It was our own private little phrase for the emergency chocolate stash in the back of the cupboard. Leo looked at me blankly. What cheese drawer? My body went cold. You know, the cheese drawer. I don't know what you're talking about. He really didn't know. There was no faking it. I fled to the bathroom and called Chloe. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Chloe, there's something wrong with Leo. What happened? He's been so different since Disneyland. He's been forgetting things, acting completely unlike himself. I feel like he never came back. There was a long silence on the line. Too long. Chloe? When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Sarah, Leo rang me last week. I froze. What? He said he was worried about you. My chest tightened. Worried about me? He said that since Phantom Manor, you've been different, forgetful, and he's seeing you staring at him like you were trying to imitate him. I couldn't breathe. That's crazy. And then Chloe said the words that made my stomach lurch. Sarah, all of us remember it the same way. My throat seized up. What do you mean? You were the one who was worried and saying you had a bad feeling. Cold flooded my body. No. You stayed outside, Chloe whispered. Mark and I went on the ride with Leo. That's not possible. We spent nearly an hour looking for you afterwards. My mind went completely blank because that wasn't the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that Chloe had always agreed with me. Every time we talked about a trip, she remembered Leo staying outside. Now suddenly, she didn't. Then we found you stood by the popcorn stand, Chloe said, her voice very quiet, just repeating that you'd been there the whole time. The phone nearly slipped out my hand. I'm sitting in the living room, trying not to panic. I can hear him in the kitchen, still humming the same new tune. Cabinets opening and closing with excruciating slowness. Just a minute ago, he called my name, but for a split second, His voice sounded doubled, like two people talking at once.
No, thank you.
He thinks I'm in the shower. Now I can't stop thinking about that one thing. If Leo remembers that I stayed outside, and I remember that about him, then who actually went on the ride? And which of us is home?
Okay, what
That
the
would freak me. That was always like something that I had feared, that I would go not on a ride, but I would go somewhere on a trip,
fuck?
and someone I know, like a partner or a friend, we'd come back and they would be different.
Be about
Something would
place.
be
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Pe-
stories I've heard about like people suspecting like that their significant other or their like sibling or whatever goes on a trip for some odd years,
Mhm.
leaves the country, comes back and it's like they're a completely
They're
different person.
completely different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Like they've been
know.
switched with
I know
something
you can,
else.
yeah, like, I mean, we can explain it with like maybe they had some head trauma that they never talked about when they went on
Hmm.
the trip, or maybe they had like, they drank something, took a drug, and that switched something different in their brain.
Yeah.
Completely changed them. That still freaks me the fuck out, though, because it's just those weird little things that you do, like the twitches or standing in darkness. I had patients that would do that actually.
I used to do that.
They see what I mean? Shit is fucking creepy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Ugh.
Yeah. I used to when I was deep into my psychoses when I had my episodes, I'd stand for hours in complete darkness. Sometimes I'd go to someone's room and watch them sleep.
Why?
I don't know.
And I know why some of my patients did it. Uh, these were also the homicidal ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they're standing there. Like, there's this one girl that, um, she was actually at my job, at the facility that I currently work out for. Like, I think we kept her for only like 3 days.
Hmm.
She was scaring everybody that was working with her. And I was the only one that would sit with her and play puzzles.
Yeah.
No
See,
one else would do that.
some people get the lucky breaks, man. They just put me in a straitjacket and just put me in a room.
No, we don't have those at my job. They're inhumane, but yeah, they're. But I
I
know
think
at
they
certain
say, huh?
no, but I know at certain facilities they do still have the 4-point restraints and
Yeah.
everything like that. Um, and of course they should have a room, a
I said,
seclusion
bro,
room.
we're not dealing with your ass. We're in a straitjacket. We're putting you in this room, and we're just forgetting about you.
That's fucked up. You see, no, we don't do that. We definitely don't do that. That is extremely
You know
inhumane.
how long it took for me to wardrobe? You know, you know how long it took for my fucking temple scars from electroshock therapy to heal? Years, dude.
You know,
The day I was scheduled to get a lobotomy is the day I got out.
holy shit. Yeah, no, they don't do that anymore. Thank God.
Yeah, they're
They
not
were
supposed to be
still
doing
doing
all
that
that
in the
stuff anymore.
2010s?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. There was one in the deep roots of somewhere in Pennsylvania, not gonna say where, that still did stuff like that.
Oh, no, you don't have to say where. I know there are places that were like New York, like New York.
Especially to the patients of color. Yeah,
That is so messed up.
all the staff were white.
Because they have been reporting, even though of course we don't believe it,
Hmm.
you do a little lick of research, you'll see that they were still practicing it. And obviously on the East Coast, like New York, they had just shut down a mental health facility that was
Hmm.
like, I mean, this one was known to, like, when the patients would go there, they were dead, they were dying,
Yeah.
like in mass.
Hmm.
Like there were issues
I
of,
thought I was gonna be one of those patients for a
yeah,
while. So.
sexual assault. There were high issues of sexual assault that was
Hmm.
going on with like the patients and the staff members. Um, issues of neglect, like you were just talking about, not like starving the patients, performing exorcisms, stuff like that, like stuff that you shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
inhumane
Yeah.
things there.
I like it. It's funny because like people when I talk to people or get to know people and then they start to like I get comfortable enough to like be my actual self instead of like
Yeah.
masking all the time. I'm like, you're so fucking weird. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, you'd be interesting too if you got electroshocked
Yeah.
in your childhood.
Do you know the kind of like that
I went
explains
in,
so much.
I went in, however the fuck I was,
Yeah,
and came out completely different.
that explains so many things.
Right.
Like I'm like piecing together a lot now that you just said like I'm like okay, you know. And so yeah, that
Yeah.
fucks
When you
people
realize
up
I
for
was
life.
electroshocked for
That
a long
fucks you
time.
up for life.
Mhm.
You're not coming back
You
from
just
that.
start to put the
And
pieces
then there's
together, and you're like, that's
yeah.
why she's like the way she is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, wow. That is so fucked up. And then you're talking about I mean, thank God you didn't get the lobotomy, but if you got the lobotomy, you wouldn't even you would just be a shell of
I'd still
yourself.
be in there. Yeah.
You wouldn't even people would be there'd be like you'd have a caregiver feeding you, essentially.
I went through 4 electroshock therapies sessions. And then on my fifth one, they said, we're going to schedule you for a lobotomy because obviously these aren't working. I was still violent. I was still lashing out. I was still, doing whatever.
Yeah.
And the day came along and I was just discharged. Like, I don't know if it was
I
because I was just like, I was not myself at that point.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. I had long instances of dissociation and
Yeah.
a lot of alter switching that I'm
Yeah.
not even aware of. A lot of things that I've just been told from a lot of people that like there's people that I were in there with that I knew outside after they got released and they told me everything.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, literally, there was a surprise to the staff and it was a surprise to me that I got released that day.
Hmm.
And one of the staff turned to me and they said, "You're lucky.
That doesn't
You're
even
one
make
of the lucky ones."
yeah, that doesn't make any sense because they are so like ready to lobotomize someone,
Hmm.
especially a queer person of color.
Hmm.
So that is shocking that they didn't, you know,
Oh, the
fucking
only reason why
try
they
and
didn't fight it
do
is
that to you.
because there were people there that were ready to expose them, hanging
Wow.
me up. Like people that would probably expose them.
I mean, I mean, if we, I'm
And then I
sure
went right back in the foster
we're
care
gonna
system.
we gonna leave that one alone. We ain't gonna dig too deep in there, but
Yeah, I
it's just really interesting to
get.
see,
I'll tell
you
everybody
know.
more when we drop the lore episode.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like, I mean, back to like, back to like the story,
Yeah, yeah.
people going on trips and coming back different. Like that really has been something that kind of always stuck in the back of my head. I mean, I'm always thinking about creepy shit. Can't help it. Brain is just immediately, I'm just fascinated by it. So yeah, I found that one.
That's why I like trying to go places with people that I care about.
Hmm. Yeah, me too.
Because I'm worried about that shit.
Yeah, yeah. It's not even just a general like not just that. I just want to also see some creepy shit too, low key. I
Yeah,
do.
that's fair.
Yeah. All
Well,
right.
hopefully I get to show you guys some creepy shit.
I want to see some. Like I've seen
When
things.
I teach you how to investigate paranormal activity in
Yeah.
Colorado.
I mean, I've seen stuff, but like the things that I've seen, I can explain away.
Yeah.
And I want to see some stuff that I'm like, there's no. It's really hard to explain that shit away. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So yeah. But do you have a story for me, Siren?
Yes, I do. I have a few. I'm gonna read stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think I'm going to go with the first one that I encountered on the r/paranormal subreddit.
Okay.
The title is "My husband and I drove through Mississippi, and I think we fell through some kind of vortex." Yeah,
Ooh, my state.
this was told by the Reddit user the Manatee's Mind.
I can understand you feeling like you fall into a vortex. I don't want to just like get into that because I know in the deep south, like when you're going into like country, like small towns, there are no lights anywhere at night. You can't see shit when you're driving down those roads. The only thing that you have is the front and back light of your car. And if
Hmm.
you leave that, you're fucked. And there's no telling what is just 6 to 10 feet away from you
Yeah,
because
it
all
can
of the
be anything.
sounds, yeah. So
Yeah,
cool shit.
exactly. Yeah. So my husband and I are newlyweds. We went to Florida to visit family and drove back north Friday afternoon/evening towards our home in northwest Missouri. To clarify, we were driving towards Tunica for the night to break up the 17-hour drive and get some sleep at a fun hotel. Somewhere around Jackson is where things started to get weird. Our GPS took us on a shortcut off the highway. As the sun was setting, we went through a town called Vidin. This was maybe 7:30 or 8ish. I remember telling my husband the town had a haunted vibe, or just some bad energy, and he agreed. We kept driving as the sun went down, and things got very rural. Please understand, my husband and I are from rural Missouri and have lived across the country in some spooky places, including Atkinson, Kansas, if you believe in the Devil's Portal or whatever.
I've heard of that.
We are very used to being on a dark stretch of road at night. This was different than anywhere we've ever been. It felt like we were constantly turning in circles. For about 2 hours, we were driving, and the gas gauge on our F 250 didn't move, like at all. Our truck is brand new and gets moderate gas mileage at best. We stayed at three-fourths of a tank exactly for hours. Typically, we stop on a trip every 2.5 hours. Now, the power of suggestion. We kept talking about how this didn't feel right. Every few hundred yards, we would see houses, but none of them had any lights on. My husband said that it's strange. It almost seems like the highway is abandoned. More lights should be on at 8 p.m. Next house we pass, every light on. This happened multiple times.
Hmm.
We would say we hadn't seen something in a minute, and that thing would appear.
Oh.
We barely saw any other cars, but the two times we did, we saw a string of four cars exactly the same make and model driving in perfect proportion to one another. Some kind of white SUV. Okay, maybe a coincidence. It happened again, like a glitch just a few miles apart. We saw another car with its hazards on. The hazards turned off immediately after we passed them. My husband saw only a couple of cars in the rearview mirror, but one followed us for a few miles. My husband described seeing it as a truck with LED lights one moment and a sedan with amber lights the next moment, and then back to being a truck with LEDs. This was all in the span of maybe 10 minutes, with no outlet for someone to turn off and get on again. At one point in the trip, we drove through a small town before getting back en route. This was maybe another hour at 9 p.m. We saw no people, cars were moving, and lights were on, but no one was outside.
Mm-mm.
We didn't see anyone in fast food restaurants or out in parking lots.
I hate this so much.
Yeah.
Mississippi is one of the worst places that you want to stop at for gas or
Oh, yeah.
anything because barely anything is open. They'll have like gas stations and like fast food joints that are open
Hmm.
every 30 to 50 miles, but you better make sure you stop and gas up, go to the bathroom, and then because half the time you don't want to stop in those places that are open,
Crazy work.
especially if you're black.
Oh, yeah, for real though.
They still have sundown towns there, so.
Mm. We thought nothing of it at the moment, but looking back, isn't that strange? There were also no animals, just a few bats. Being from a rural area, we keep an eye out for deer, raccoons, armadillos, or other critters when driving at night. We only saw one deer at dusk, and it wasn't moving at all. It seemed frozen. It was looking at us, but its ears didn't twitch. It didn't run away. It just stood perfectly still. Its head was also really small, but maybe that's just the deer in Mississippi. Speaking of animals, we travel with our lap dog. He's a senior pup, and he's ridden on my lap all over the country. He couldn't seem to settle down on these back roads. He whined and shifted way more than usual. I think the biggest thing for me was the chills I had the whole trip. like tingling instinct type chills. Time didn't seem like it was passing normally. We felt like we were in danger. As soon as we got back on the interstate, everything seemed normal again. Animals, people, other cars, the gauges in the truck, my uneasy feeling, all back to normal. Lights were on in businesses, people were outside. My husband, who is normally very unshaken, returned to his normal self. All of my texts came in at once. My mom texted me about 2 hours before, when the weirdness started, that she had a sinking feeling about me, and whatever I was doing, I needed to be safe. I called her and said for the last 2 hours she had a mother's instinct that something was very, very wrong. I want to end by saying my husband and I are very practical people. He is in the trades, and I am an educator and caretaker. We both have traveled back roads of the country in all weather, at all times, completely fine. Sometimes a little creeped out by the darkness, but fine. Our truck is also almost brand new and works well on long trips. We have taken it on a road trip through another rural area recently in Kansas, and all the gauges worked. As a science teacher, I know the behaviors of the flora and fauna well. While we are devout Christians, we are scientists and take a very level headed approach to the supernatural. I believe God saved us from whatever vortex or ley line or something we drove through last night. Lastly, my husband and I acknowledge that we have both taken SSRIs in the past, but we would never harm ourselves or others. We love life. TLDR, we went through a stretch of rural Mississippi where time and space seemed to turn in on itself. Too many coincidences. Do you know anything about this part of country or paranormal activity?
Yeah. They it was good. It was really good. I just find it fascinating whenever they go. We believe God protected us.
Oh, bro.
I saw your eyes roll when
Yeah, you saw my eyes. I was like, oh, come on, whatever.
It's fair, you know, people can believe what they want to believe for sure, but
I'm not gonna defend
they
it.
were in a fucking dead zone. Like I've been in situations like that for sure. Even up here in
Hmm.
Wisconsin, there's some towns where I'm
It's
driving
just
through,
completely dead.
you're not getting any service. So if something happens, you fucked.
Fucked
You're
with a
fucked.
capital F.
Uh-huh. So I have one more story.
All right,
All
sweet.
right. It's called The Good Samaritan. The rain came down in sheets, a solid wall of water that turned the world into a gray smear. My jacket, a cheap and ratty one I'd picked up at a thrift store 2 states back, had given up the ghost an hour ago. Every thread was saturated, heavy, clinging to my skin like a second, colder flesh.
Mm,
The water had.
sorry, it
Wait.
just made my sensory issues. Just I hate it.
Yeah. The water had long since wicked down past my waist, soaking my jeans until the denim felt cold and dead wrapped around my legs.
Mm-mm.
My boots, once reliable, now squished with
Oh,
every miserable step on the crumbling asphalt shoulder of Route 9. That is actually grotesque. I hate walking, like when my feet, like when my shoes
bro,
are
I
wet.
cry when my socks are wet.
Oh, yeah, no, that is a sensory thing for me too. I cannot, or like walking on wet floors
Bro, if I'm wearing
with crumbs on
jeans
them, oh,
and my jeans are soaked and sticking to me,
rip them off.
I'm breaking down. I'm having a severe mental crisis.
I get that. No, I understand. That's serious.
You're
That
gonna
is
have to
the
take me to
worst.
the psych ward,
I
bro.
might, I might check myself into. It is. That's an awful
Especially with
feeling.
the combo with the wet socks and the soaked shoes,
Kill me.
killing myself.
We're sacrificing both of ourselves because I can't help you. What?
Over, for instance.
Ahead, a single streetlight sputtered, fighting a losing battle against the deluge. It cast a weak, jaundiced cone of light onto the road. I stood directly beneath it, watching my breath plume and vanish in the frigid air. Cars had been scarce, their headlights blurring past like a startled ghost, their wake kicking up rooster tails of filthy water that splattered my shins. Each one that didn't stop tightened a knot of cold dread in my stomach. My options had dwindled to a grim list: keep walking until my body gave out, or try to find a dry spot off the road and pray hyperthermia was slow. Neither option felt like a winner. Then I saw it. Headlights cutting clean through the downpour. A silver crossover revealed itself. It was the kind of vehicle you see in 100 commercials, perfect for soccer practice and trips to the home improvement store.
Oh, so a mom car.
That's what I was thinking. My heart gave a little thump of something that wasn't just the cold. Hope, however desperate and pathetic it may have been. I stuck out my thumb clumsily. The silver crossover slowed, its tires screeching on the wet pavement as it eased onto the muddy shoulder just ahead of me. I hurried forward, my squishing boots slipping in the gravel. Water streamed off my hair and down my face. The passenger window slid down with a soft electric whir, releasing a wave of blessedly warm air that smelled of clean upholstery and something else I couldn't quite pinpoint. "Looks like you're having a rough night, friend," a warm, friendly voice said. I leaned down, blinking water from my eyes. The driver was the picture of safety. Late 30s, maybe. A neatly trimmed, dark beard framed a kind face. He wore a pale blue polo shirt, clean and unwrinkled. On the steering wheel, I saw a thick gold wedding band that caught the car's interior light. He chuckled. "Nasty one out there. Where you headed?" "Anywhere but here," I said, my own voice sounding rough and unused. "Just need to get out of this town and out of this rain." "Well, hop on in. I can take you as far as the next town. Junkson's got a 24-hour diner. You can dry off there." I didn't hesitate. I pulled the heavy door open and slid into the passenger seat, pulling the door shut behind me. The instant click of the latch was a profound relief. The heater was blasting, a wash of heat that immediately began seeping into my frozen limbs. I leaned my head back against the headrest and closed my eyes for a second, letting the warmth wash over me. "Thanks," I breathed. "Really, thank you." "No problem at all," he said, pulling smoothly back onto the highway. The wipers beat a frantic, hypnotic rhythm against the glass. "Name's Greg, by the way. Otis. Good to meet you, Otis. Glad I can help you out." I opened my eyes, taking in the interior of the car. It was spotless, like it had just rolled off the lot. Not a speck of dust on the dashboard, not a stray wrapper on the floor mats. A green, pine-scented air freshener hung from the rearview mirror, slowly swinging with the motion of the car. Its artificial forest scent was strong, but there was noticeably another smell underneath it, something heavy and metallic. I shifted in my seat, unsettled by the smell. I glanced over at Greg. He was watching the road, but not the road ahead. His eyes kept flicking to the side mirror, then to the rearview mirror, then back again. He wasn't looking at the traffic because there was no traffic. We were the only car on this dark, empty stretch of highway. "Long drive?" I asked, trying to make conversation to ignore the growing sense of unease. "Yeah, something like that," he said, his eyes still fixed on the mirrors. "Just running a few errands for the wife." Ah, I said, not knowing what else to say. We drove in silence for a few minutes, save for the rhythm of the wipers in sync with the beating rain. The synthetic pine smell was starting to give me a headache, but it was better than the coppery undertone that kept breaking through. You must really love your wife, I said, nodding toward the gold band on his finger. He finally looked over at me, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes that I couldn't quite read. Best thing that ever happened to me, he said, his voice a little too cheerful, a little too loud. Amy's the one who keeps me in line, always giving me a honey-do list. Always giving me a honey-do list a mile long. He chuckled, but it didn't quite reach in his eyes. He went back to watching the mirrors, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The last sign of civilization dwindled and died as we passed the last lit gas station, its neon sign a fading beacon in the storm. Then we were plunged into true darkness, flanked by the dense, oppressive walls of the pine forest. The headlights did little more than illuminate the next 50 yards of slick, black asphalt. The world outside the car had vanished. So, Otis, Greg said, breaking the silence, what do you do? I'm between things right now, I said, hedging. Just traveling. Just traveling? That's a good way to be, I think. See the world, get some perspective. Instead of responding, I find myself looking at the back of his head, at the neat way his hair was trimmed, at the way he held himself so perfectly still. You're not from here, are you? He asked. No, you? Born and raised, he said, still looking in the mirrors. Never left. Can't imagine why I would. Then it happened. A dull, heavy vibration rattled the plastic interior panels right behind my head. It was a single solid thud, like something massive had shifted in the enclosed cargo trunk space. Something heavy and alive. I flinched, my body going rigid. My heart, which had just started to slow, a normal rhythm, slammed against my ribs. What was that? I asked, my voice tight. Greg didn't flinch. He didn't even look back. He just chuckled, a smooth practice sound. Just a loose golf club or clubs rolling around back there, he said, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. My wife keeps me busy, so I haven't cleared the trunk. His knuckles were stark white on the steering wheel, the skin stretched tight over the bones. Golf clubs? I repeated, my mind racing. In this weather? Forgot to take them out after my last game, he said. You know how it is. See, why are you asking questions?
Yeah, shut up, dude. The fuck?
You can tell this is a white man. Like,
Just shut the fuck up.
This fatal fucking flaw.
He said golf clubs, that's it.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
interesting.
But I didn't know. And I didn't believe him. The coppery smell was stronger now, thick and cloying.
I don't smell shit. No, driving.
Yeah. We'll put some music.
You told me it was golf clubs. I don't smell shit.
We be doing what is that? 100 bottles of beer on the wall or something like that. That we be singing something because like I cannot be in that much silence.
Nope.
The copper smell was stronger now, thick and cloying. The pine air freshener was fighting a losing battle. I had to fight the urge to gag. Your wife. What's her name again? I asked, trying to distract myself from the fear rapidly growing in my mind. Anne, he said, a little too quickly. Anne. We've been married for 10 years. 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They're the light of my life. His words became more and more rehearsed. His tone, I still don't really know how to describe it. It was just unusual. I stared out the window, watching the dark trees blur past. The rain was still coming down in sheets, but I barely noticed it anymore. My focus was on the man sitting next to me, the man with the kind eyes and the warm smile and the dead, dead, dead eyes. The car was too warm. The heat was blasting, making the coppery smell even more overpowering. I felt a bead of sweat trickle down my temple. I had to get out of this car. Could you turn down the heat? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Greg didn't answer. He just kept driving, his eyes darting between the road and the mirrors. Greg, I said, a little louder this time. He turned to me, and the smile was gone. His face was a blank canvas. There was no warmth, no kindness anymore. What's the matter, Otis? He asked, his voice flat. You look like you've seen a ghost. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The words were stuck in my throat. We drove in silence for a few more minutes. The only sounds were the rain, the wipers, and the frantic beating of my own heart. I was a prisoner in this car, a prisoner in this conversation, a prisoner in this nightmare. Then it happened again. This time, it was a series of muffled, frantic kicks against the plastic lining, followed by the distinct, horrifying sound of something tearing at heavy vinyl. My blood ran cold. Something was moving in the trunk. Or someone. I looked at Greg. His breathing was shallow and wet, like he was struggling to get air. Beads of sweat were streaming down his face, matting his hair to his forehead. Greg, I said, my voice shaking. What's in the trunk?
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
This is not like them. They have to. That curiosity, man. It's just so strong. They can't let it go. He didn't answer. He just kept driving. The dim light cast a sickly, greenish glow on his face, making him look like a waxwork figure in a haunted house. The pine-scented air freshener had lost its battle with the coppery smell, which was now so thick I could almost taste it. I had to get out. Had to get out now. I think I'm feeling sick. Can we stop? I lied, my mind racing. His only response was a wry laugh. He was staring straight ahead, and his jaw clenched so tightly I could see the muscles twitching in his cheek. My eyes darted to the door, to the power lock switch. I grabbed the handle with one hand and reached down to the switch with the other, my fingers trembling, and pressed the button. Nothing happened. I pressed it again, harder this time. Still nothing. I looked closer. The entire plastic housing for the power lock switches had been violently pried out, leaving snipped, dead copper wires exposed. I was trapped. I sat there, frozen in terror, my mind racing through a fog of panic. I had to do something. I had to think. The thinking that had kept me alive on the road all these months needed to kick in. I needed to see. I needed to know what was back there. I needed to know if my worst fears were true. They are.
Mm-hmm.
I fumbled with my wallet, pretending to be clumsy. Oh, damn, I said, my voice shaking. I dropped my wallet.
Oh no, step bro.
I leaned
My
forward. Bow chicka wow wow. I leaned forward, pretending to search for the floorboard. But I wasn't looking for my wallet. I was looking for something else. I was looking for a way out. My eyes scanned the floorboard, looking for anything I could use as a weapon, anything I can use to break the window. But there was nothing. The car was too clean. I leaned down further, my head almost touching the floor. The coppery smell was overwhelming down there, thick, cloying scent of death. I turned my body, my eyes adjusting to the dim light, and then I saw it. Through the narrow gap between the split folding rear seats, I could see into the trunk. A blue tarp had slipped away, revealing the faint outline of a pale human hand violently flexing and clawing at the carpet. My blood ran cold. The image burned itself into my retinas. The fingers were long and slender, the nails ragged and torn. The skin was pale, almost translucent, with a bluish tint. And the blood? Oh, the blood. It was everywhere. Now it was spattered on the walls, pooled on the carpet, dripping from the tarp. Greg was watching me now. His head turned, his eyes locked on mine. There was no pretense left, no fake smile, no rehearsed lines, just a cold, dead emptiness that made my skin crawl. "Find your wallet?" he asked, his voice chillingly flat. I knew he wasn't asking about my wallet. He was asking if I seen, if I knew. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The words were caught in my throat. A lump of pure terror. I slowly pushed myself back, up into my seat, my movements stiff and robotic. My wallet, I suddenly realized, was still in my back pocket. A foolish, pointless lie. The car began to slow down. Through the windshield, I saw it. A dark crossroads with a single flashing red light. The rhythmic blinking cast an eerie, blood-red glow over the interior of the car, over Greg's dead eyes, over my own trembling hands. This was it. This was my only chance. I knew with a certainty that was as cold and as hard as the steel of the car's frame. If I didn't act now, I would die here. I would end up like the man in the trunk, a pale, blood-spattered hand clawing at the tarp in the dark. As we slowed, the blinking red light painted us in strokes of crimson and black. We were actors in a macabre play, and the final act was about to begin. I broke eye contact, my head snapping down to the dark floorboard. My hands fumbled blindly, my fingers brushing against the rough carpet, the cold metal of the seat rail. Then I felt a cold hand yank on my shoulder. Unexplainable, loud, shouting burst from my left. "Stop, you little bastard!" He was reaching over, trying to choke me or stop me. The car swerved violently as he took one hand off the wheel. The tires hydroplaned on the slick asphalt, a terrifying squeal of rubber on the water. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my throat. I was frozen, trapped in his gaze, a deer in headlights of an oncoming disaster. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I broke free from his grip and threw my weight into the door. My shoulder connected with the hard plastic, a sharp, searing pain shooting down my arm, but the door didn't budge. He snarled and grabbed a handful of my hair and yanked my head back. I cried out in pain, my neck snapping back at an unnatural angle. Tears sprang to my eyes, blurring my vision. Then I felt it, a small, recessed lever, the manual override, my lifeline. I wrapped my fingers around it, the plastic cool and hard against my skin, and pulled. There was a loud click, and the door unlocked. I didn't hesitate. I threw my shoulder against the door, using all my weight, all my fear, all my desperation. The door flew open, and the world rushed in. The wind and the rain, the roar of the engine, the blinding light of the flashing red. I tumbled out the car, my body a rag doll thrown from a moving vehicle. I hit the muddy ditch with a bone-jarring thud, the impact knocking the wind out of me. I lay there for a second, gasping for breath. I could hear the car tires screech as he slammed on the brakes. I could hear the engine revving, the sound of him shifting into reverse. I had prayed to a God I hadn't prayed to in a decade that he wouldn't find me. I scrambled to my feet. My ankle twisted, a sharp, searing pain shooting up my leg. I stumbled, my hands sinking into the mud, then pushed myself up and started to run. I ran blindly, fueled by a terror so pure, so absolute that it eclipsed everything else. The pain, the cold, the exhaustion, it all faded into the background. There was only the run, only the need to get away. I plunged into the woods, the branches tearing at my clothes, the thorns scratching my face. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs felt they were on fire. I ran until I couldn't run anymore. I collapsed behind a thick oak tree, my chest heaving, my body trembling. I crouched over in the dark, listening. For a long, terrifying moment, there was only the sound of the rain and the pounding of my own heart. Then I heard it, the sound of screeching tires on pavement and the roar of an engine receding into the night. I stayed there for what felt like an eternity, my body slowly relaxing, the adrenaline fading, leaving behind a terrible exhaustion and a dull, throbbing pain in my ankle. But I was alive, and I thanked the God I hadn't thanked in a decade. I got up, my body protesting every movement, and made my way back to the road. My clothes were torn, my body covered in a putrid mix of mud and blood, but I was alive. I stumbled out of the tree line and onto the asphalt, my boots squishing with every step. I looked up, my eyes searching the darkness for the blinking red light. I needed to get my bearings. I needed to know where I was. I saw it, a solitary rhythmic flash of red in the distance. I limped towards it, my ankles screaming in protest with every step. This intersection was eerily quiet, save for the gentle rain. A rusted chain link fence ran along one corner of the intersection, its metal post leaning at odd angles, its links sagging with age. And there, tacked on the fence, illuminated by the flashing red light, was a plastic sleeve flyer. On closer inspection, a missing persons flyer. I took a step closer, my curiosity getting the better of me. The face on the flyer was smiling. I took a step closer, my curiosity getting the better of me. The face on the flyer was a smiling, bearded man in a pastel pink polo shirt. The text read, "Missing, Gregory Morrison." I stared at the flyer, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. The man in the picture was the man who had picked me up, the man who tried to kill me, or so I thought. I studied the photo and found some slight differences. Subtle, but undeniable. The man in the picture had a scar that was thin and white over his left eyebrow. The man who had picked me up didn't. Other than that, their resemblances was almost uncannily the same. I looked down to read the details under the photo. Gregory R. Morrison, 38, last seen Tuesday evening. He was on his way home from a business trip in the city. He was driving a late model silver crossover. He was last seen at a gas station just off Route 9. The world tilted on its axis. My mind reeled, struggling to make sense of it all. The friendly smile, the rehearsed lines, the dead eyes. It all clicked into place with a horrifying clarity. That man or thing in the car wasn't Greg. The real Greg, then, the smiling man on the flyer, was the pale, blood splattered hand I'd seen clawing at the trunk. Nausea washed over me. I bent over, my hands on my knees, and retched, but nothing came up. The rain had softened to a miserable, persistent drizzle. My ankle throbbed with a deep ache. Every part of me hurt, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the psychic scream echoing in my head. I was alone in the middle of nowhere, a witness to a horror I couldn't comprehend, with no phone, no wallet, and no way to call for help. I started walking, my steps slow and unsteady, my eyes fixed on the dark, empty road ahead. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to keep moving. I had to get away from this place, from this intersection, from this blinking red light, and the ghost of the man who had smiled at me from a flyer on a rusted fence. But most of all, I had to get away from the headlights swelling in the distance, quickly cutting through the drizzle.
Wow. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of saw where it was heading,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they said thing, I'm like, ooh, it could have also have been another, what do you call that?
Epidermis
Epidermis
pedestrian.
pedestrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got two stories about epidermis pedestrians.
I have a few more stories actually.
Okay.
Um, they're not that long, thankfully. But my next one is I, a teen female, have had a paranormal experience my entire life, and I have some questions for those who get it. As told by Reddit user BearBear71008 in the r/paranormal subreddit. I've been having paranormal experiences my entire life, for as far back as I can remember. Sometimes it scares me senseless. Sometimes it doesn't faze me too much. I'll tell you two stories before I ask my question for those of you who are like I am. First, was actually my very first paranormal experience. I don't know exactly how old I was, but I couldn't have been more than a year or so because I still had my pacifier. Growing up, I was with my aunt a lot. My mom was always busy with work, so if I wasn't with her, I was always with my aunt. When I would stay the night, she would set up my crib in the guest room, right across the hall from her room. I remember one night before being awoken, I sat up and looked for my pacifier, found it, and popped it back into my mouth. Then, I just happened to glance towards the door, which she always left cracked, and slowly peeking into the room was a dark figure. I remember feeling so scared I couldn't make a sound for a couple seconds. I must have eventually, because soon the figure was gone and my aunt was there trying to comfort me. The next morning, my aunt noticed that I had almost bitten through my pacifier. I asked her a couple of years ago, just out of curiosity, if she remembered that, and if there was anyone in the house besides us that I could have just mistaken for a ghost. She said not that she remembered, but that something had definitely spooked me. Probably a nightmare. Yeah, I think not. Now, I had several since then, and like I said, sometimes they absolutely scare the living daylights out of me. Other times, it doesn't bother me much. Sometimes it's just seeing somebody for a flash of a second that I couldn't just tell wasn't something that other people could see. Other times, it's just unsettling feelings in very specific areas. But the scaredest I've ever been in a paranormal situation happened not too long ago. It was late evening time, the sun had just set, and me and my family were at the hospital because a family member or a family friend had just had a baby. My mom realized that she'd left the gift in the car, and I offered to go get it. Which was my first mistake because I've had several times where I've felt very on edge in hospitals. I headed out to the parking lot garage, and the second I stepped in, I felt that feeling I always get during my not so pleasant encounters. I've read that people have different feelings that happen when they encounter bad ghosts or spirits or whatever you want to call it. In my situation, I always feel short of breath and like I'm about to puke. I remember the hair on the back of my neck immediately stood straight up, and I had the unsettling feeling that I wasn't alone.
Mm.
I booked it to our car, grabbed the gift, and headed back towards the elevator. I kept repeating to myself, "It's in your head. It's in your head." And that's where it took a turn. Suddenly, as if someone had leaned just inches from my ear, I heard a whisper, "It's not in your head."
I hate that.
I immediately spun around ready to fight like my life depended on it. Nothing was there. But that nausea feeling got extremely strong and I ran back to the elevator. The second I was around other people, I felt better. But for weeks after, I was alone. I had that horrible feeling. And I could go on and on and on with more stories. During a school lock in for a fundraiser, I saw a boy who died in a car accident the year earlier standing in the hall. I smelled my late grandmother's perfume in the middle of the Rocky Mountains while exploring behind our cabin. I've heard things call my name. Hell, I saw the Hat Man in our backyard one night when I was home alone.
Great.
I almost pissed myself with that one. So, for those of you who understand these experiences, I have some questions for you. 1. What might make me someone that these experiences happen to? I'm a pretty ordinary person, and I wonder if there's something specific that ghosts slash entities or whatever these experiences are look for. 2. When a bad experience happens, should I acknowledge that I know they're there or just completely ignore it? 3. I've read about people similar to me who spoke about the veil. What is the veil? 4. Is there anything I can do or wear to protect myself in situations like this, good or bad? 5. How do I truly know the difference between something that's going to hurt me or something that isn't? And what are ways that these things could hurt me? That way, I know to be prepared. I could really use some help with these. I don't want to live the rest of my life in fear of these experiences. If anybody has advice, please share.
Oh, that's really scary. Um, I haven't experienced too many, like I said before, unexplainable paranormal experiences. So
I have.
I know for me, yeah, seem to be a conduit.
Yeah,
You both, yeah.
yeah.
You and your girlfriend Max seem to both be conduits for like really, really weird, unexplained things. So the best advice I could give was whenever I experience things that creep me the fuck out, I would leave it alone and pretend like it wasn't there. At the time, like, because when you're in the midst of it, sometimes exploring isn't exactly helpful if you don't know what it is, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Hmm.
Um, Other than that, like if you have that curious side to you or you just want to explain it so that you can move on, I would say wait until you feel a little bit more safe and sane, like you're in control of your emotions, and then do some investigating safely to go about it. So that's my advice.
Okay. I can answer all 5 questions.
Okay.
So the first one, she asks, what might make me someone that these experiences happen to? It can happen to anybody. A lot of experiences mainly happen to those who are spiritually sensitive.
Hmm.
That can be from anything. Maybe you're born with a gift to sense and see spirits, or maybe you developed it somehow, or maybe a ghost just wants to fuck with you every now and then. But it's just something that happens. It can happen to anyone. A lot of people are more closed off, not as open minded. So those experiences don't really happen.
Yeah.
But if you're open minded and you're open to those experiences, then those will keep happening to you. But there are ways to guard yourself, and I will get to that eventually. The second question was, when a bad experience has happened, should I acknowledge that I know that there, or just to completely ignore it? Depends on what the situation is. There's a lot of entities or spirits out there that thrive on being acknowledged. The more you acknowledge them, the worse it gets. And there's a lot of things mainly outside in the woods or in forests or in rural areas that you shouldn't acknowledge. And I think things like shadow people, because it sounds like you're seeing a lot of shadow people. Um, depends. I wouldn't really acknowledge them. If I see them, I'll just pretend I didn't see them,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because once they know you see them, they'll fuck with you more.
Yeah.
They'll be more open to communicating with you, and they'll try to do things to kind of drive you insane. And it
Hmm.
depends, especially since you saw the Hat Man, so you're kind of fucked a little bit if you acknowledge that existence.
Yeah. If there's like,
Um,
I've heard stories also of people saying that there are just entities that are there to get your attention regardless of whether or not you're acknowledging that they're
yeah,
there.
yeah.
They're going to keep doing it.
hmm
They're going to try
They're
to
gonna make
show
sure you
up.
crack. Yeah,
Hmm.
they're gonna want you to crack.
Yeah. Especially they're going to also prey on people with mental illnesses.
Because
Just
these are
people that are
people that are
very
more open, sensitive,
absolutely,
and people
absolutely. So
that
how can you sometimes it's like how can you differentiate from a hallucination and something that actually can be like a
exactly,
spiritual,
exactly. That's why a lot of
encounter?
spirits go for people who are mentally ill
Absolutely.
because no one will believe them.
Absolutely. It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
So fucked up. Yeah.
The third question was I've read about people similar to me who spoke about the veil. What is the veil? So the veil is practically the veil to the other side. It's the veil encompasses, so there's the living world and then there's the spiritual world. And the veil is what separates them. And that's the veil. Typically, spirits hang in between the two. A lot of spirits, a lot of shadow people, a lot of entities will hang between the veil, which is why you get those paranormal instances, encounters. You see spirits, you see entities, you see shadows. They're in between the veil. They're between life and death, which is why you can see them.
Hmm.
Some have completely crossed over to the veil, but they can still interact with our world. And those ones are more like poltergeists, where you
Right.
can't see, but you can see what's happening around you, things being thrown, stuff like that. Uh, Number four is there anything I can do or wear to protect myself in situations like this, good or bad? Basically, if you have a guardian, like a spiritual guide, that could be God, I guess. I don't fucking know, whatever you want to like. But making sure that you communicate and guard yourself spiritually. So, like, sit down, meditation. This is a good time to get into witchcraft. A lot of crafting of charms, a lot of necklaces, a lot of incense will keep negative energy away, will keep negative spirits away. Fortify your mental, self care. Take care of
Hmm.
yourself. Make sure you take care of your mental health as well.
Absolutely. That's like very
Because,
important.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because the worse your mental health is, the easier it is for a spirit to interact with
Latch
you
onto
and
you.
to latch onto you.
Yeah.
And the best ways to guard yourself, if you want to wear anything, pentacle helps sometimes. Um, Things like amethyst, you can wear an amethyst pendant that does good energy. Quartz, you can wear
Clear
quartz.
quartz. Yep.
Yeah, that draws in, that sucks in spirits. It sucks in negative energy, lets out good energy.
Hmm.
Um, Obsidian is good. Things like that you can keep on you. You can keep pendants. You can wear them as rings. Just all the things that you can make yourself safe.
Yep.
And then number five was how do I truly know the difference between something that's going to hurt me or something that isn't? And what are the ways these things can hurt me? That is quite easy to answer, actually. So it's usually a feeling you get. If there's a negative spirit, you'll usually feel negative energy.
Right.
You'll feel negative feelings in your body, the hair standing on end. Sometimes you'll get lightheaded. You'll feel like you're going to throw up. You
Yeah.
feel existential dread.
Yeah.
These are things that could indicate there's a negative energy around you, negative spirit around you.
Absolutely.
And the ways these things can hurt you is thrown objects. They can attack you mentally. They can make you see things that aren't there. They could, if they have enough of a hold in our realm, they could scratch you. They could push you down the stairs.
They can make you paranoid.
They can make you paranoid.
Yeah.
There's some experiences of people being possessed. They could possess you,
Hmm.
get you to harm yourself or harm someone else. I've heard a lot of experiences where people had family members who had a negative entity latched on them and they died um, pretty unexplainably, pretty quick too. It depends on the entity. It depends on the bad spirit. And usually, like, I know people say like there's almost always no such thing as a good spirit, but I think that's it depends really, because if you're around good energy, good spirit, you'll feel it. You'll feel calm. You'll feel not much. You won't have much anxiety that you usually do.
Hmm.
You'll feel at peace. Like if something moves and you're not terrified, you feel at ease. Like people say that they can feel like when a past family member, someone who's passed away, comes around, they feel the energy. It
Yeah,
feels familiar. It feels
it
encompassing. It
feels
feels
safe.
safe.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's how you can tell.
Yeah, I could say I had one experience um, after a very close friend of mine passed away. He died, or they died, over 10 years ago. They committed suicide. And so I would feel him. That's the best way I can really explain it. Now, again, this is stuff that, because there's a big part of me that's a skeptic, of course.
Hmm.
But I just want to talk about my experiences. So
And
I
it's always
remember,
good to have healthy skepticism
absolutely, I think
because
that's,
it keeps you open to paranormal experiences, but it doesn't keep you so open where you can have super bad
and
experiences.
then let it overpower you
Yeah.
and become like,
Hmm.
very unhealthy. So, anyways, but I remember one night specifically, I was laying in bed, um, and I remember I felt this weight on the edge of my bed, like somebody or something sat down and then crawled into my bed and came up behind me and hugged me. So I remember that experience so well. It felt so real to me in that moment. And I wasn't scared. That was the difference for me. I didn't have any fear when it happened and he hugged me. I knew if because he just passed away, I guess that was his way and it happened so suddenly. And the guilt that I felt from his suicide, I felt like that was maybe a way that he was reaching out to me to let me know that it wasn't my fault,
Hmm.
that I couldn't be there for him at the time. So, yeah, like that was that you didn't see anything, but I felt him
Yeah.
on me and it wasn't scary. There was no heaviness, there was no stomach dropping feeling or impending doom feeling. It was safety and love. And that was what I felt whenever I was around him. So,
And I do have two more.
okay.
This one is my first paranormal experience. As told by Reddit user, your favorite plant. And this is also on r/slash paranormal subreddit. That subreddit has so many good experiences. When I was a teenager, me and my mom had to make a big move from Montana back to where we are now and close to family. She had decided to split from my stepdad due to personal reasons between the two of them. And it was all so sudden that my mom couldn't really find a place for us to stay at quick enough. Luckily, though, my dad had decided to let her take the camper with her, so we could at least sleep in that rather than having nothing. We packed everything we could into the camper, and he said once we had somewhere, he would help bring the rest of our stuff to us. My mom ended up finding an RV camp slash living space to rent back home, while she tried to find a house for us to live in and a new job. But when that fell through, her brother had decided to let her set up camp outside next to his house while she began building her life back up. Her sister was also staying at my uncle's house because of her own issues as well. Her house flooded and she needed somewhere to stay while her family got everything fixed up. So it was me, my aunt, my mom, and my cousins all staying at the house. My uncle wasn't home due to him working. He was a truck driver and gone a lot. except for the fact me and my mom were luckily sleeping outside the house in our camper. Through my aunt and my cousin, I slowly started learning the horror of the house itself. It was a one-story house, with the exception of the basement having 2 rooms downstairs. But my aunt had moved my cousins that used to sleep down there back upstairs due to the reasons I don't really know. Anyway, my aunt told me things that had happened to her in this house. Her Siri would activate at weird times, and she would joke about her Siri hating her with the weird shit it would say. Her husband would have weird night terrors about a woman standing over the bed looking at them. My cousins all had different experiences as well. They eventually left once their house was fixed, leaving me and my mom there alone. But we're here to talk about my experience. It all started off slowly, with things that could be explained and stuff I could talk myself down and make logic out of. Like sometimes when I would sleep on the couch or take a nap inside the house, things would just randomly appear around me when I woke up. One time I had woken up to a black hat laying on my chest, which was weird because I don't own one, and I didn't remember it being anywhere when I lay down, etc., etc. My mom started hearing tapping outside on the camper, and especially weird things coming from the woodshed that was behind our camper. This is important for later. Remember this. So I hated being in the bathroom. It sounds weird, but I really, really hated being inside it. Our camper didn't have any water hookups because we were just camping in my uncle's yard, so I had to shower in it and use the bathroom inside. Whenever I went in there, it always felt like something was wrong. I used to beg my mom to sit outside the bathroom or on the toilet while I showered because I really didn't want to be in there alone. She always said no, so I used the alternative. The cat.
The what?
The cat.
Okay.
Shamefully, I used to bring the cat in the bathroom with me while I showered because at least someone or something would be with me. And if anything happened, maybe the cat would do something. Or, eh, you know, it made sense at the time, I swear. But every single time, without fail, besides once, the cat always disappeared from the bathroom and somehow ended up outside the bathroom.
I hate that. Cats, they are
Just-
another conduit for
Yeah.
weird shit happening. They always see everything, and
Yeah.
then they do randomly
Random
disappear.
shit. Earlier today.
Really,
Yeah, my cat.
right?
Yeah, was not on the bed. Right? And then we looked away and we looked back and there she was on the bed.
That big girl.
Yeah! I was like, did I not hear your fat ass get up
Yeah.
again? I still to this day have no fucking idea how it kept getting out. It's obvious how, but how?
Yeah.
The door always clicked shut. It wasn't janky, and there were no holes in the bathroom for the cat to crawl out of. On top of that, I had always locked the door before I got in the shower. So something would have had to unlock the door, let the cat out, then lock the door again.
Mm-mm. Something was already in there.
Yeah. When it happened, the 4th time, I stopped going in that bathroom altogether. I stopped going inside the house. I refused. I threw big enough of a fit that my mom let me shower at the community center so I wouldn't have to do it in there anymore. The last and worst experience I had at that house was when we were finally packing up and leaving. My mom finally found a house that we could settle down in. While we were moving stuff around and making sure nothing in the camper would move around when she started driving, my mom handed me a plastic case of water bottles. She told me to place it somewhere inside because she didn't want to bring it with us. Mind you, I hadn't set foot inside this house since the last time I took a shower and started showering at the community center. I opened the door and set the water bottles inside the house, set it on the ground, and slid it to the side. I wasn't even inside. I just leaned in and slid it in. When I looked up to close the door, the bathroom light turned on. At first, I was like, oh, maybe someone left the light switch halfway turned off and it decided to now flip up.
That could happen.
Yeah, but then things started getting thrown around. I couldn't see directly in the bathroom, but I could hear things on the counter getting thrown to the ground and something or someone throwing themselves around.
Throwing themselves.
I felt my stomach drop and I froze completely. Then the worst sound known to man. A scream. It was the most weirdest inhuman scream. Loud and low, yet high-pitched all in one. It scared the absolute shit out of me. I slammed the door shut and ran to my mom crying and yelling that someone was in the house. My mom told me to get inside the truck and to just leave it. She rushed me and even yelled at me to just get in the truck. As we were leaving, my mom looked at me and told me she saw my uncle's wife in the woodshed. This is the important part. My uncle's wife, my aunt, had committed suicide in that woodshed a really, really long time ago.
Whoa.
I knew she passed away at some point. I just didn't know how or where. When my mom told me, I told her what happened in the bathroom, and we just went silent on the drive over to our new house. She later called my uncle and told him what happened. She said she saw his wife waving at her, like she was saying goodbye. That house still has things going on with it, I'm sure, since the house hasn't been sold since my uncle moved out of it. I've especially looked up the history of the property. There were at least 3 different house fires and rebuildings, and 3 suicides, one of them being my aunt.
Wow. That's creepy.
Yeah.
So that house causes people, well, allegedly.
Allegedly.
There's something going on in there.
Mm-mm.
Maybe it's one of those houses that drive people insane, drive people to want to commit suicide. That is so scary, though.
Yeah. I mean, there's houses that drive people to kill, like the Amityville house.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and then my last one I got for you is there's something wrong with my wife's friend.
Ooh, I love those.
As told by Reddit user Civil Shit 1444. I find it hard to put into words when and how this nightmare started. I moved with my wife, Sarah, to the other end of the country, which took a major toll on our social life as well as our marriage. God, I wish I hadn't accepted this job in the first place. We were the social sort. She worked at a law firm, and I was a welder. Out of the blue, I got an offer to relocate and resettle at another site for 3 times my income. After discussing it with Sarah, we decided that I would take the job. She would find whatever work she could around here. Everything was okay for the first few months, but life started to get dull. This place is somewhat small, and there isn't really much to do around here that doesn't become boring after a while. The lack of novelty took a toll on our marriage. I began to dread coming home from work, and would take extra shifts just to delay going back to the house as much as possible. Every day, I would sit for an hour in my truck on a secluded part of the road, just smoking and pondering. When I did come home, I prayed that she would be asleep so that I wouldn't have to deal with her cold shoulder and snarky remarks. Get a divorce, bro.
Seriously.
Sorry,
It doesn't seem.
get a divorce.
It doesn't. Yeah.
At this point, it's
You're
not going to
holding
work
on to
homie. You're just
doo doo at this point.
It sounds like something's going on. You're not communicating.
Yeah.
And I thought that was bad. A few months ago, we talked, and she decided to join some artsy club that one of her friends from work goes to. I was happy that this would finally get her out of the house and maybe calm her down for the time being. How I wish things were like before. How I wish we never came here. So, yeah. So, she joined this club. At first, she genuinely looked happy, and I was glad that she managed to find some friends. She became happier and happier until she started becoming more dismissive and secretive about what they were doing. One time, I asked, "Hey, What do you actually do? And she just gave me this angry, bitter look before suddenly changing her mood and saying, I will sign you up and you will see. This caught me off guard. From that point, she went back to her happy, warm self. At least, so I thought. She would call me at work and ask about my day, which she hadn't done in years. I would come home to large, well made dinners. My favorite movies would be on TV. I would think about a gift for my birthday, and she would get me the exact thing I had imagined without me even telling her. Suddenly, my life turned from hell to heaven for seemingly no reason.
Nope. 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 You about to die. She gonna kill you.
I would still stop by the deserted road, only to cry tears of joy and wonder what the hell had happened. Not that I was offended or angry that it had. Her intimacy also became something out of this world. It took a major cut to my pay. I took a major cut to my pay so that I could spend more time with her. I swear, each day I came home, she was more and more beautiful. And those weren't subtle changes either. One day, her hair would suddenly grow and turn lush and strong. The next, I could swear she was thinner and more muscular. She spent a lot of time in her study making strange figurines for her art club. They looked dark, with strange runes carved into them. Supposedly, it was for some art world they were building. At least that's the core of the project. I don't know what material she used to make those figurines, but my head started to feel strange whenever I spent time in the house. I had this weird feeling as if they were looking at me. Sometimes I'd hear faint whispers. Sometimes they would somehow move from one spot to another, even though I was alone in the house and never touched them. My world became perfect until it came crashing down a week ago. One day, I grabbed her hand and asked what happened. I kept telling her how happy I was and how much our life had improved. She just smiled and said, Maybe it's time you met my friend Philia. That name felt somehow off. I agreed and suggested we go out somewhere, but Sarah insisted that she come by our house for dinner. She was supposedly an extremely private person. I didn't think much of it at the time. How stupid of me. So we scheduled the dinner for Friday night at midnight, which, for whatever reason, didn't strike me as odd. Someone coming to our house in the dead of night for dinner should have alarmed me. But I was so invested in my happiness that I had lost all sense. Friday came, and Sarah wouldn't let me anywhere near the kitchen. I mean, nowhere near. I spent the entire day out of the house. I had taken this day off, no less, and Sarah just gave me this disturbing smile and said, I will get everything ready.
No.
You go to town and have fun.
No. I'm not eating your food.
No matter how hard I pushed, she wanted me out of the house. Again, I was too dumb to realize it. I went to bars and enjoyed myself like a child with near infinite money. I came home just before midnight, and Sarah opened the door for me. My jaw dropped. She looked at least 20 years younger. I don't mean she was well dressed or wearing good makeup. No, it looked like her aging had somehow reversed. Something made me shiver with unease. Come in, she's almost ready, she said, nearly screaming with excitement. The house was arranged like we were having a romantic party. She had flowers delivered, incense sticks were lit all around, and the dinner table was filled to the brim with food. One small detail struck me among all the abnormality. Sarah had a missing tooth that was suddenly there again. Before I could press her for answers, someone gently tapped on the front door. There was no car outside, and we lived far away from any public transportation.
I hate that.
Yep. She's here. Sarah jumped with excitement and dragged me to the door. The moment she opened the door, I felt sick. That gut-wrenching feeling when everything appears normal, but you know deep down something is very, very wrong. Philia, welcome, Sarah said with a wide smile. The woman looked beautiful, unnaturally beautiful. I couldn't imagine anyone more appealing to the eye. I could.
It's okay.
It's like, hello, Sarah, she said while gazing at me. Now I know her eyes were light blue when she came in. Mhm. Can I come in? She asked in a charming feminine voice. I muttered, of course, and noticed her wide smile as she stepped inside. At that moment, everything around me seemed to dull, like I was severely intoxicated. We sat down at the dinner table, and Sarah, for some reason, sat beside her instead of me.
Mm.
My knees shook. There was something very vile and off-putting about this woman. She wore a strange, ornate red dress with black jewelry set with what looked like priceless gems. Her hair was the darkest I have ever seen, perfectly kept. She barely paid attention to Sarah, focusing instead on me, which made me uncomfortable. Sarah placed the food in front of us and covered serving trays that we didn't own before. She lifted the metal covers, revealing an exquisite dish made from some kind of meat and rare mushrooms. My eyes widened. Sarah never cooked red meat, and this was far beyond her abilities. It looked like something prepared by the world's best chefs. The strong, sweet, earthy aroma hit me immediately. Sarah and Philia stared at the meat with almost ravenous expressions before devouring it. They ate as if they hadn't eaten in days. My hand shook as I placed a piece of meat into my mouth. The texture was incredible, the taste unlike anything I'd ever experienced. How is it, honey? Sarah asked, almost mockingly. It's lovely, I muttered, and they both laughed. Even though it tasted incredible, I couldn't swallow a single bite. It was as if my body refused to let me.
Yeah,
I chewed and chewed, then discreetly spat it out whenever they weren't looking.
good.
It felt wrong. They ate like animals. Their portions dwarfed mine. They were like hungry lions, not human beings. I felt anxious and out of place. Every part of me was telling me to run, even though we were supposedly having a nice time. After they finished, Sarah said, we should get more meat next time. That sounded wrong. She had barely touched meat for years. Philia produced a bottle of wine, which Sarah opened and poured. She gestured for us to move to the living room and sit by the fireplace. To my surprise, the armchairs were gone, leaving only a sofa. She poured 3 glasses of a dense, almost oily red wine. Now I swear Thelia's eyes were dark green. Her pupils didn't react to light at all, as if they were decorative. They drank quickly and pressured me to do the same. The wine didn't taste like wine. It was extremely sweet, unlike anything I had ever had. After that, I phased in and out of consciousness. I remember nothing else from that night, except Thelia gave me one of her black rings, which I cannot remove no matter what I do. I woke up the next morning in searing pain. My entire body felt like it was filled with burning coils. I could barely make it to the bathroom. No matter how much I demanded answers, Sarah wouldn't tell me what happened. I never fully recovered. I grow weaker each day. I have constant nightmares, and I always see the woman in the corner of my vision. I hear voices in my head taunting me, telling me I'm going to hell, asking if I enjoyed my dinner. I had bite marks all over my body. They were deep and bloody, but Sarah brushed them off. Each night, I suffered from sleep paralysis. Finally, Sarah went out again. It took all my strength to reach the taxi station and get to a private hospital in another town. The strangest thing is that the doctors found no traces of drugs, alcohol, or any major injuries. They said they had never seen a case like mine. I tried to show them the bite marks, but they couldn't see them. My blood test showed that I am healthy as a 90-year-old man, and I seem to be aging rapidly. This damn ring won't come off. 3 blades broke when they tried to cut it. The doctors think I am schizophrenic, and I am struggling to convince them otherwise. I swear some of the nurses are hurt. I recognized those eyes, even behind the masks. One of them smiled at me today. Her eyes were not the same color as yesterday. And I know the ring was on my other hand when I fell asleep last time. Sarah hasn't called me at all. Maybe she will get another chance to undo her wasted life, as she called it. She denied ever being married to me when the hospital called her.
Wow. That bitch drove him insane.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo. Bravo.
Crazy
Wow.
shit. Yeah.
Like the biggest thing for me is eating the food that she prepared. She wouldn't let him step near the kitchen.
I'm automatically going to assume you're poisoning me.
I'm not even returning back to the house.
Yeah, bro.
There's no way.
I'm out.
Yeah. I'm
not
that
even
is
in another state. I'm in a country. Good luck finding my black ass.
Yeah, there is no way. And then you put it in your mouth and you knew everything in you from the time you got back home to the time you sat down with this girl named Philia, and she's fine as hell. While she's fine as hell, you feel only your body is literally saying, "Get the hell out of here." And then you put the food, and then you put the meat in your mouth that you never ate before. You fucked up.
Yeah. You
You
know
fucked
what
up.
it sounds like to me though?
What?
Vampires.
Ah, yeah, from the aging and like literally getting younger,
Mm-hmm.
like very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of mythology, vampires could also do magic and rituals to
Mm-hmm.
take the youth from other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, also in covens too. Sound like
Covens too.
yeah. I mean, vampire covens are like a thing as well.
Yep.
Like she joined this
It
thing.
sounds like she joined a vampire coven. And she's now a vampire.
And she fucking with you.
And you fucked, dude.
That's so messed up. She couldn't just let you be in peace.
Nah.
Either.
Mm-mm.
She
She said, I know a guy.
Yeah. son of a bitch that I'm married to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's fuck with him.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine, but you know what?
Best believe if my wife came, if you fucking came home acting fucking different,
Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, eating meat.
I'm out. Unless you promise not to hurt me, though.
Yeah, that's a different story. But like, it also sounds like the wife went insane.
Yeah,
like she got obsessed. Sarah got obsessed with Ilya, like very, like sapphically obsessed with this other being, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
No, there's no. If you're losing your mind, I'm seeing it happen. I first want to see if I can get you some help.
Oh,
but
yeah.
if you brushing me to the side and you're giving me these ugly ass like you look disgusted at the side of me, well, even then, I can't ask you about this new group that you're a part of.
Yeah,
like trying to show interest, and
yeah.
you're still being really like mysterious about it. Nah.
Peace. Mm-mm.
Those are really good stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that last one.
That one was posted when I took it. It was like 3 hours prior.
Oh wow!
So it's like recent. It's like today.
People really on Reddit. They've got some writers on there.
Yeah.
These people are really talented. The ones that I found,
Mm-hmm.
the one was like the first one was like a few days ago. The other one was like 16 hours ago.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
Well,
that's it for me.
I think that's it for me as well. So
I hope you guys enjoyed this little spooky adventure to paranormal encounters and things that just feel a little too close to comfort. Thank you all for listening to our podcast. Have a great day, evening, or night, whatever time you're listening to this. As always, we're at the Dead Air Podcast. We'd like to hear from you, not about you. Bye-bye.
Bye.